about the aircraft receipts, they can be found in the Sywell Air Show 2024 brochure, so please do head to the retail village and find the brochure. £5 will get you a very important brochure with all about all of these things that we're seeing flying today. So please head to the retail village where you can find the brochures on sale for all of these. Chasing the weekends. Stays high at the start of more of a flat routine, but the Hurricane was known to being slightly underperforming compared to some of the other fighter aircraft in the Second World War. Remember, it is developed from a biplane, the Hawker Cuir. Here we go, left hand side now for our two Hurricane Mark 1s. Now to your front left will be coming in to join. Peeling off from the back formation, giving us a solo routine, is Stu Goldspink in the Grumman Wildcat.
Beautiful sounding Pratt & Whitney twin Wasp radial engine there, producing around about 1200 horsepower. Max speed of the Wildcat was 320 miles an hour. It could climb to 34,000 feet. Running in now towards us on the B axis, coming in directly ahead. Beautiful sounding Pratt & Whitney twin Wasp radial engine there, producing around about 1200 horsepower. Max speed of the Wildcat was 320 miles an hour. It could climb to 34,000 feet. Running in now towards us on the B axis, coming in directly ahead. Pacific. Tough aircraft. It was known for its ability to absorb damage and still get its pilots back safely. And of course, they had to land on aircraft carriers, which even by today's standards is no mean feat. But to do
the dear old Wildcat, which you just previously saw, held the fort for the first 2 years of the war, and they realised that the Wildcat was, although a very good aeroplane and very sturdy, it wasn't fast enough. It couldn't climb as fast as a Zero. So they went back to the drawing board, and Pratt & Whitney produced the most wonderful engine called a Pratt & Whitney 2800. Which is an 18-cylinder radial, which even on the test bench was putting out nearly 2,000 horsepower. So they needed an airframe they could put this enormous 2,000 horsepower engine in, and the Vought Corporation came up with this aeroplane, the F4U. Used a lot of very advanced industrial techniques, so a lot of the aircraft is actually spot welded. Most aircraft at the time were riveted, but this has got a lot of spot welding, a lot of pressure formed metal. An amazing aeroplane, terrific performance, as you can see from the aircraft running in now. And then over the top, a beautiful loop being led by the yellow-nosed Corsair. That's a slightly bigger Corsair with a three-blade propeller. That's an aircraft owned by the Fighter Collection from Duxford, flown today by Brian Smith, one of our most experienced warbird pilots, superb leader. All this formation flying is driven by the lead. Everyone thinks the hard job is the guys on the wing, but in actual fact, the guys on the wing cannot do their job if the leader is not flying smoothly, maintaining the energy of the aircraft and doing nothing unpredictable. And Brian is all of those things, very smooth, beautiful pair of hands, makes it very easy to follow. Obviously it's made easier today by the fact there are 3 Corsairs. They're all pretty much the same kind of drag profile, although Brian did say yesterday that his early aircraft with its 3-blade propeller is a little bit lighter than the other 2, so they've got a bit of a job to keep up with them. So running out on this pass, a sum total of 6,000 horsepower coming past from left to right. See from here, but I think on the southwest of Paris, they're equivalent of our old Warden Shuttleworth collection, and his grandfather, father and himself have all flown vintage aeroplanes. They specialise in a lot of First World War aeroplanes, but they've branched out into the Second World War stuff, and he's out on the leader's right at the moment as they make this pass. other side of the formation is just run by Eric Goujon. Again, the gentleman from France, started his career as a Mirage pilot in the French Air Force. Obviously lots of military experience, gives you all that formation experience, and he's taken that into his civilian career, and he's a full-time pilot with the Red Bulls, and you'll see him a little bit later on flying in the same position, but this time following that lovely silver P-38 later on. In Europe, the Royal Navy, which had smaller carriers and had very little to play with, had to act. And it's a very jammy so-and-so because he's got a blue gap just where he needs it. So the aircraft was designed in 43-44 to actually take over from the Hellcat, and the problem in 1944 was the kamikaze aircraft in the Western Pacific, and what they needed was an aircraft that could get airborne off the carrier, suck its gear up, stay at full power, point the nose up and climb at least 4,000 to 5,000 feet a minute to intercept the kamikaze aircraft coming in and taking out the first ship, which ran for about 2 or 3 years before they started flying their commercial jets. Flying her in her crazy aerobatic aeroplane, the red and white and blue one in front of us. They have negative oil systems, so they have oil pumping up to the bearings, even negative. And I think that was probably Pete's goodbye flyby. He's going to join downwind and land. Absolutely superlative display, I think you'll agree, and a little round of applause. Speaking from the Casques, Brian, waiting for Brian as he taxis in the yellow-nosed Corsair. Super job leaving those Corsairs, Brian. The second Corsair, that's Baptiste, taxiing his aircraft in from France. He'll be taking his helmet off, having a bit of a rub down, and then walking down the third line because he's flying Mark 13 Spitfire later on in our Spitfire parade. By wagging his legs and his hands around, and the pilot would have to fly that curving approach, otherwise he'd lose sight of the landing signal officer. And the idea being he actually rounds out around about 6 feet above the deck. And at that point, if the landing signal officer is happy with his approach, he would then cross his bats over his head, and in an absolute massive act of confidence, the pilot would then simply close the throttle, pull the stick back, and the aircraft would bounce onto the carrier deck. Anyway, that's the Bearcat. You'll see Pete taxiing in a little bit. But just airborne now is the T-45 with the steering. Jazzy modern aeroplane, but in actual fact it was a basic trainer for the United States Air Force and Navy. First flew in the late 1930s, and they built literally thousands of them, which is just as well because the students broke quite a lot of them as well. Much stronger than the old Tiger Moth, which is basically full of doping for wood. This is a metal aeroplane covered in fabric, very strong. And after the war, rather than converted into blockbusters, for the first 20 years after the war, they were